because knowledge, all the knowledge in the world isn't worth anything unless you apply it. And I think you know that.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all
to be like a 1-to-1 ratio. You learn, you do. You learn, you do. You learn, you do. If it goes out of balance, then you're out of balance. Don't hurt your integrity there. Yeah. I learned that, although I don't always apply it. That's the hard fact of what a lot of us come across. I mean, if we had all the knowledge in the world and we could be able to use it, then I think if we were all perfect, we would, and we'd be able to create massive differences in the world. And I know that there are spiritual elements to success in everything that we do. What would you say really is this foundation and who we need to be, those core values that we should bring into our integrity that would help us lead ourselves into the direction in light of God and what he has to offer for us to share those blessings? What is it that are some of the most important things that we can do to be able to grow ourselves and share with others?
I think, and did you just say that we need to know what we should be?
Who we should be.
Because as soon as you said that, I went elsewhere, and then I couldn't remember what you said, but it triggered my thought that and now I think I'm quoting Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. And that's an understanding and a discovery of who we are. And from reading the Impersonal Life, the expression I will use, that we're angels of light, we're an expression of God in this physical world. And to know that, but it's more important than I know that I'm an angel of light, an expression of the Creator, but to be aware that you are, and to be aware that every person I meet is part of this oneness of our Creator. And as you and I were talking earlier about the golden rule, to love thy neighbor as thyself. And just as I say that to you, it gives me another thought. So much of, I must say, people that want to give service, they want to help others. Well, you can't help others, I want to say, unless you love yourself. And it's all, you're making some motions there, and I'm sitting lower, but it all comes from the heart, and connecting with people and knowing that, and just mentally, you don't have to say it, you can just come from love when you're interacting with someone. And they may not get it up here, but it's a soul to soul connection.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I resonate with that, because a recent discovery that I made is a lot of people communicate, but not a lot of people connect. So when you're really able to relate on the level of their understanding, like say somebody asks a question of what, maybe they're a business-minded person, they want to create results. If they ask you what, then you should reciprocate in that relationship and answer the what. Then you can get deeper into the things that maybe motivate you. So I happen to be a why person. So if somebody asks me a why question, it lights me up. That's the questions I tend to ask. So just start with where they are in their understanding and where they want to perceive, and then it'll help you move into the next how in that relationship, so you can really create that connection and not just communicate back and forth.
It's not just the intellectual connection, but as you're saying, it's a heart to heart. Matter of fact, I don't know if anybody's ever done this, but normally when we hug each other, we hug on the right side. And I learned years ago that when you go to the other side, it's different, so people recognize it. And so when I hug the other side, and I say heart to heart, because we moved to the left, and now we've got heart to heart. So it gives them a moment to understand that there's a new way to hug, because it's another connection, a heart-to-heart connection. And a lot of people I'm doing that with now. I've been doing it for about over 15 years when I learned it at a seminar. And I started doing it, And now I'm getting more and more people to understand what that means. And then I added something else to it. If we're in a conversation and we're partying and we had a good conversation, and now it's a little hug, I said heart to heart, and then I'll step this second I have to call you back. I hit the wrong button, and I might put my hands on their shoulder and look them in the eye, and look you in the eye, say, Michael, I want you to know it's God looking out of my eyes and God looking out of your eyes. And if you carry that simple little thought with everyone you meet, you can't help but connect in a compassionate, loving, caring way, because that's who you really are. And you know it. I'm learning it. And the world needs this. It needs this teaching. And it comes from us living it. And from our earlier conversation, what you were talking about, how you want to connect with people and raise their awareness. And I want to say help people be their best, discover their purpose, a higher purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not always about money.
Yeah. I've always been a person that strived in passion and purpose. Monetary advances never really meant much to me. It's how you could be able to create that change or that light bulb moment in their life that helps them evolve to the next level of who their potential really is, and them just being able to not step into it, but embody that in that sense. That moment is what matters to me, and then seeing them grow along that progression and actualize their talents. The monetary comes with it, sure, it's great, but it's not what gives me the fulfillment in pursuing that passion.
I've been retired for over 15 years, and in the last 7, once I started reading this book in personal life, new projects, new things have come to me that I'm very excited about. And I've had people ask me why do I want to make more money? And I have a very simple answer: so I can help more people, so I can give more away, I can do more good. And I'm just one person that can help serve food at a kitchen. But if I could buy all the food, I can have a bigger impact. I can still go and serve, but it'd be a lot of fun to be able to pay for the meals and do that anonymously.
Yeah,
Don't let the left hand, the right hand's doing, which is very important.
That's amazing. I love that, Sid. That's a great reference. There's always a greater way to contribute, and if you find that, that's amazing. Okay.
Let me share 2 things with you. One is I'm producing a movie. Now, I've never made a movie, don't know anybody in the business, and I came across a book called The Dalai Lama's Cat by David Mickey. And when first day I picked it up and started reading it, the God thought came to me. I didn't know it at the time, but the thought came to me, this book could make a difference. Contact the author about a movie. And the second day, I wrote the same thing in my journal. And after that, I bought the book and dozens of them and started giving them to my friends and telling them, I'm going to make a movie. Now, I hadn't done anything about it, but in my mind, I'm making a movie. And when I finally reached out to the author in Australia, said, I love your book, I want to make a movie. And that got the ball rolling, introducing me to the right people. And I'm in the process. I've got a partner, a company in London that makes movies, and we're partners in the project. I've got a script I love, I've got a director I love, and we're moving forward. And I believe that there's a message here. It's a message of the Dalai Lama in Buddhism of compassion, peace and compassion, harmony. And I always thought Buddhism was a religion because they always classify it in one of the great religions. But as I got into the book and started doing some studying, it's a philosophy, not a religion. So I got into that. And do you know who Bob Proctor is?
Absolutely.
Does that name ring a bell?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
breaking barriers, paradigms. Come on, Bob Proctor.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure how we connected, but I'm a consultant with his Thinking and Results program. And when I heard about that a couple years ago, my thought was, oh, when I learned about it, this is something that the world needs and can make a difference. And so I'm doing that. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you, and this came to me last year. I've not put it out on the internet yet, but I've created a God idea, thought, which I call the Healing Earth meditation. Healing Earth meditation. That just starting with me, and if I went into the meditation with you, you would be the first person I did this with. But I'm doing it mentally and expanding my energy where I'm at, and it's about expanding my energy and connecting with all the other souls around me, expanding it into a larger, let's say, a field of energy like a bubble, translucent bubble. I can picture it as being kind of rose-colored. And that people don't have to know it's happening because I'm connecting with their souls, adding the energy till the whole world is in this bubble. But people will voluntarily move into it because I will have it transcribed into English, and then all the other languages on the planet, I will work with people that will then speak it in their languages and be able to translate it. So there could be a huge, it can make a real difference. We're dealing with love, peace, harmony, and I use one of my meditative phrases. In fact, the key phrase in the little book, Personal Life, is be still and know I am. And I was working with that for a few weeks, and then the little voice said, look it up. Because I thought, oh, I bet this is in the Bible. So you Google be still and know I'm God, and it's Psalm 46:10. So I use that within my meditation. So when I record it, I'll send it to you first.
How sweet, Sid. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's awesome. It's a really interesting concept. I did happen to learn something from Donnie Epstein. There was a podcast with Lewis Howes. Are you familiar with him?
I'm sorry, Lewis?
Lewis Howes, yeah.
That I'm not familiar. Lewis House, House?
Lewis, Lewis, space HOWES. He's got this podcast called The School of Greatness. And he interviewed a lot of people being able to get to where he was. He essentially put himself into a space where he could be able to learn from all of these different individuals who had their own unique perspectives. And he gathered from these successful business people. So in that essence, I was able to learn from a podcast with Donnie Epstein. And this guy's talking a lot about what you're talking about, where thoughts are not really in our mind. They're in a field. And between everything is a space called the field. So we're not exactly communicating. The field is communicating. So when you're saying you want to transfer energy and put yourself into a positive space for other people to be able to feel and absorb, the nervous system perceives the world like, what is sound? It's a subtle vibration of the atmosphere around you. What is vision? The photon energy and the light around you. Smell is the dissolved particles in the field around you. So you really make your senses transmit the environment and interpret it. So you're really putting yourself into a situation where you're not seeing the environment, you're seeing your projection onto the environment. And while this goes deep, at least 80% of what you see is capturing your projection. So the real big drug, you know, when we don't have enough energy, the environment breaks you down. When you have more, you're at the status quo and you're essentially comfortable. That big drug is when we get an abundance of that energy by claiming it. And to really claim it, you have to have a vision that's bigger than yourself. So hold multiple perspectives. If not two perspectives, hold three. You know, be in a situation where life is, you know, kind of messed up is what we're all a part of. And being less resourceful for your heart, you know, you really don't want to put yourself in that situation. You want to put yourself in a situation where, you know, you realize that we are interpreting the environment and the world around. So, you know, I'm putting myself in that situation where I'm gathering those perspectives so that I can be able to develop my own. And in that essence, I'm building that up so that I have my own message to share. So every time you make a difference for someone else, every time you have that new idea, when you love more, you pause, and you just realize that you're observing this space and this field between us.
When you said that you're familiar with Bob and the paradigm, changing your paradigm, have you done any of his seminars or just watching YouTube, or what's your experience with the paradigm shift that Bob's teaching?
So my experience with Bob is really, I haven't delved really deep into it, more of like a surface level. I've watched some of his videos on YouTube. I took some notes. I watched the one about a paradigm shift, and it's really important. I'm sure I could gather a lot more additional perspective that would be able to help me understand how to be able to make those massive transitions and break through those barriers that hold us back.
I have a couple of things I could share with you, and we've been talking. We've been recording this for about 20 minutes, probably. Yes, and we could go along a long time. I'd rather have a one-on-one with you to go over. We've got our five. What I want to address is we got our five senses, but then we have six intellectual faculties, which our conscious mind can deal with what's going on. And I always list them alphabetically. You have your imagination, your intuition, your memory, your perception, your reasoning, and your will. And knowing that we have that, then we don't want to react to what the five senses are bringing in. We're trained to react to what, quote, reality, but what the five senses are bringing us. But when we understand that we don't have to react, we can pause and respond. And Bob teaches that. In fact, I can show you. There's a little medallion. Let's see, the R's, and one is smooth and one is rough. So you can just touch it when it's in your pocket, and it's rough. That's to remind you not to react, because it says, what does it say here? Isn't that funny? Oh, react and you lose control, and you respond, you're in control. So reacting is being at the effect of what's out there. And that's how we learn in school. That's how we grow up, with reacting to what's going on in the input. But to shift the paradigm is to recognize your reaction that's not working and be able to think through let's just say another perspective. And real simply, and it puzzled me for a couple of years, how do I change my perspective? And then I heard someone respond, one of the teachers of Bob's, that a suggestion was made. He made a suggestion to a client, and the guy says, well, I don't think that's going to work. And the guy said, well, what if it does? What if it does work? That was a different perspective. We're inside that box that you talk about, that you got to think outside the box. And we're trained to, inside the box is what we know. And you've got to get outside the box to discover new things, changing your perspective. As a matter of fact, this came to me, a visual a visual of being inside the box. So I'm in a big box, and I'm 6'2", so it's higher than 6 feet around me. And it's probably more than maybe 8 feet in all directions. So I can't quite touch the sides. And I got a problem. And I don't know if it's Einstein that said, Einstein or Steve Jobs, but you can't solve a problem with the mind that created it. You got to think outside the box. And I thought, oh, well, I can just push down the first wall in front of me. And I have access out, let's say 90% vision of what's going on outside of me. And then I thought, oh, I can push down the two sides. And now I've got 180 degrees in front of me. Well, if I'd done that, I might as well push down the back one. Now I've got the whole universe.
Yeah.
All the ideas are out there, and to be open to try different things, to seek out answers, meet people like you that get me, say things that get me thinking about things I wasn't thinking about before.
Yeah, open that loop, right?
Yes, I love it. I'm very blessed that you reached out and that we have this conversation. So I think we'll have a few more as we go along.
Yeah, myself as well, Sid. I think that really what you were bringing into poking a hole in the universe, or just making some sort of dent, that came from Steve. Just being able to push that thing and comes out the other side. It sounds like Steve was speaking through you. It was pretty awesome. Yeah. So essentially, yeah. You got a lot of different compositions and different perspectives from where you're able to ground yourself in. While you have your authenticity, you can view things from different perspectives. A great thing that we could use as a human resource is being able to view something from inside other people's shoes. And once you can do that, the whole world opens up to you. And that's something I'm working on, something I got to realize through gaining this different social awareness and just having the psychology to care about what other people think. It's kind of hard because I'm kind of enthusiastic, and I come out with a vibrant energy, and I say things without thinking about it, and that could hurt somebody. So I just got to know when to dim my perspective or that energy that I bring, and have a level of social awareness where I create a switch, a filter when I need it, rather than just blurting out things and being impulsive thinking.
I think it's okay to be impulsive. And I think it's okay for you to think, well, I might insult somebody or I might make them feel bad. But once you put it out there, and as we said earlier, it's a God-driven thought that came to you to share. And it goes back to Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth. Well, everybody can handle the truth. Now, they may be uncomfortable, but it's something they needed to hear, and that they have to deal with internally how upset they are. I'm not sure what else to say other than often there's things we need to hear that we're in denial over. And only the person that's close to you has the courage to tell you the truth.
Yeah. And, yeah, I find it really interesting. Some people, they want better for you, and they want you to be able to grow and develop that social awareness. But from how I feel about some of this energy that's coming my way, while they're challenging me in some way, I feel like they're also kind of trying to diminish me in some way too. So there was a time just several days ago, that I was like, I need to learn social awareness. I need to know all these things and change my perspective about it. And at the same time, I also felt like, oh my gosh, how am I going to balance my ability to have happiness and to know that I can't do these things? If I can't be able to live in my authentic self, then how am I going to be happy in conforming to the image of God? It was just really challenging. I'm just like, in the end, I'm just like, I got to live in my own authenticity and serve in my own way, because, I'm doing God's work. And if I don't have that own vibrancy with who I am, I won't be able to have my full potential.
You're unique. Everyone on the planet is unique, and everyone has to discover their purpose. There are no two purposes. They may seem similar, but we're going to do them our own way. And I want to say there's no wrong way. And if you get slapped down, that's because you needed it. Even though when you're slapped down, why'd you do that? Well, it's good for you. But you said something else. Oh, you talk about energy coming at you. I want you to think about thoughts or things, and your energy that goes out is going to come back. So when you're perceiving some, quote, negative energy coming in, you've already given something out that needed that. It isn't necessarily a quid pro quo that you gave out negative and it came back, but you gave something out there and you needed to experience this negative. And the fact that you could tell me that, you had an awareness of it and you didn't have to affect you. You noticed it. It's like to notice it, and it's like water off a duck's back. Let it go by and don't hold on to it. Matter of fact, this just occurred to me when we have to picture, let's say in meditation. Do you meditate? Do you ever meditate and go into the silence?
The silence, but not the unknowingness, the close off everything, I feel like meditation for me is just taking like 10 minutes in the morning to be able to be grateful. So I do 3 things. I heard this from Tony Robbins. Spend 3 minutes to be grateful, be in appreciation, and then 3 minutes of prayer, and then 3 minutes of intent. How am I going to start my day? What am I going into?
I like that. When I ask about the meditation, I was looking at when someone closes their eyes and their mind is busy and a lot of thoughts are coming by, and thinking pictures. Did you know we think? Are you freezing up on me? The screen is like you're frozen. Oh, okay. Now you're back moving. Well, I was going to talk about as let's call them thoughts. As thoughts come into our mind that we say are negative, maybe they're repetitive, and if we focus on them, it's like we grabbed them and held them still instead of letting them pass, because you want to hold the good thoughts and not hold the negative. And so I saw a picture like a film going by. It said the old movies, it was a reel, the way the film was. Well, I'm seeing it's a reel going by this way, and I have some good thoughts and some negative thoughts, or I have negative input. Well, you can see it, you can think it, and then let go of it. Don't hold on to it. When you're holding on to the negative thought, you're giving it your energy and you're giving it some mass. And then you will attract more of it. I think you probably know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's learning to think. The Bob's Elite Coaching Program of thinking in the results. Change your thinking, change your results, and being able to think what you want to think. And that's something we can talk about, at another time.
Absolutely.
In fact, I'd love to do another little conversation like this and kind of go over some points about how the mind works. Absolutely. And the relationship with our conscious mind and the subconscious. And
no. That's Bob Proctor talking to you right now. Because it sounds like Bob, like already. It's great. I'd love to, Sid. It's been a great pleasure.
Well, it's been a joy for me to meet a bright young, bushy-tailed young man
Oh,
eager to learn. And your generation is learning these things and thinking about these things that past generations, just handfuls of people work on the cutting edge. But the fact that we're talking like this on the internet, and who knows who in the world is going to see this and listen to it, and maybe it'll make a difference. It's made a difference for me just having this conversation with you, and I'm very grateful.
absolutely, Sid, myself as well. I'm extremely grateful to have been able to be touched by you and the blessings that you're sharing. And yeah, I really want to be able to project this out for other people to hear. So, I did just start a YouTube channel, and I'd love to be able to forward some interviews over there. Of course, there's a whole monetization process that I got to work on in the future from all this stuff. But I'd love to put it there and to put it on Facebook and have it connect with our networks, and people could take great influence from the message that we've been able to share. Is that okay with you?
Of course. What is the name of your YouTube channel?
Just my name, Michael Earthasada. I just started it, and in my first video, I cover the in-depth gifts that God has blessed me with. So essentially, I do those awareness documentations like I discussed, starting with self-awareness and telling a little bit about my story and storytelling, and then leading into the awareness of the rest of the world and how that helps me.
Super. Well, I think we can do some things.
Yeah,
I should say, I think we're gonna do some positive things. And
yes.
A friend of mine says if I'm doing something with someone else, they'll say we're gonna do some great things together, without knowing what they are, but just having that confidence of two minds coming together, create a third that is bigger than the two.
Yeah, all about collaboration, love, and relationships, and that's that we can truly connect and create unity with one another. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Bob.
So with that, what did you say?
I said that is so awesome. Thank you so much for being able to be aligned in this purpose. We all have our own. You said we each have our own part, and it's very similar.
I thought you said thank you, Bob.
Oh, did I? Oh,
but that's what I asked you. What did you say?
Gotcha. Additional perspective definitely helps. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I have been at live events with him a number of times, and someone generally always comes up before we go in or the day before we get early, and they'll say, they might tell you look like Bob Proctor. And I said, yeah, yes, they do.
Yeah, it's so funny. Oh man, you have a radiance about you from what you've learned, and you're putting his energy, your own unique spirit into the field. So yeah, I do feel that way. It's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
I aspire to share the stage with Bob, or should I say, I would love to have Bob share the stage with me.
Ah, there you go. Change it up a little bit.
That thought never occurred to me. The first time I saw him live, I thought, boy, I'd like to be up there and doing some stuff with Bob. And then I hadn't really talked about it or thought about it too much, but just in this conversation, I'm thinking, yeah, I've got some stuff I'm doing, and it's so I don't have to know how. I just have to know I want to do it. And when you know what you want, the universe will conspire to bring it to you.
Absolutely. Wow. Thanks for sharing a little bit more about your vision and what you want to be able to create. I think it's phenomenal what you're doing, and you really touched up on a lot of key points that truly help inspire us as individuals. I think aspiration and inspiration are different. Inspiration is being able to help other people be in a situation where they want to be like you. Aspiring is for you to want to be like someone else. So I think a lot of people will take inspiration from this chat, and we'll continue our conversation very soon at another time. We'll set
Can you turn off the video then?
Absolutely.
The recording?
We'll end our meeting right here.
Okay, we'll end it right here, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Actually,
Thank you.
I'll send you some information, and we'll talk some more.
Okay.
God bless you.
Namaste.
Namaste.